Hello and welcome to Lore of the Storm, the series that looks to inform you of the lore behind your favourite heroes in Heroes of the Storm. In a universe as bleak as Diablo, it is sometimes easy to forget that even as demonic hordes consume both the world of men and the high heavens, there is always a light in the darkness. No matter how grim the situation, the inspiring Archangel of Hope, Oriel, is that light. As Auriel's creation is directly tied to it, I will very briefly cover the origins of the Diablo universe. Again, in the beginning, there was but a single pearl containing the diamond being, Anu. Anu was all things, both good and evil, but the being sought purity and cast out all negative aspects of its character, hatred, fear, doubt, and anger to name a few. But these did not simply disperse into nothingness, they coalesced to create another being entirely, Tathamet, the seven-headed dragon. These two opposing entities found themselves locked in a raging conflict, neither gaining the upper hand over the ages they fought. Finally, both forces spent, they launched their final blows. This destroyed both Tathamet and Anu. The single pearl erupted and the universe was born from this. Anu's crystalline spine hurtled through the primordial blackness of the universe. Eventually, it came to a stop, and when it cooled, it formed a structure called the Crystal Arch. Around this tower, the rest of the high heavens formed, becoming the home of angels, with the Crystal Arch the highest point of this new realm. Anu's spine still hummed with the remaining essence of the benevolent being, its chorus permeating every corner of the high heavens, luminous bands pulsing off the arch in perfect synchronization with the music it created. Upon reaching absolute harmony, the arch's hums would manifest as angels, beings that sought to bring the order and balance of the high heavens to the entire universe. Immortals, not made of flesh, but of light and sound. Most angels wear armour, but it was not originally designed for combat, or as some believe, to make them appear more human. Angels had been wearing their armour long before humankind's creation. More ornamental than protective, the armour is used to provide each angel with a sense of individuality. The angel's wings are the truest manifestation of their form, the tendrils of light pulsing with their individual harmony, often representing the angel's mood at the time. The most powerful beings born from the Archer's hums were the Archangels of the Angiris Council, the ruling body of the high heavens, living representations of the chief virtues of Anu. The council was made up of 5 Archangels. Imperius, the Archangel of Valor, leader of heaven's armies, his bravery unmatched. Tyrael, the Archangel of Justice, who values integrity and balance above all else. The prophetic Itherael, Archangel of Fate, said to have a close friendship with Oriel. Malthael, Archangel of Wisdom, methodical and slow to act, but revered by all other angels for his peerless insight. And of course, Oriel, Archangel of Hope. The council would always debate matters of importance, and if no decision could be unanimously reached, it was always put to a vote. Oriel is said to be the most beloved of all the angels within the high heavens. It is she who leads the sweet chorus that rings throughout the realm, with her at its centre. She is the calmest and most light-hearted member of the Angiris Council, putting an end to heated exchanges between the other members through understanding and presenting the hope of possibilities. Oriel sticks firmly to the belief that there is good in all things, including the heart of all sentient beings. Oriel watches over a section of the heavens called the Gardens of Hope, a tranquil quarter where the sweet chorus of the heavens is at its strongest. Angels visit these gardens to clear their minds and seek serenity. The chorus puts an angel spirit into harmonious alignment with every other angel within the high heavens. The trees of the garden do not have canopies of leaves, but ones made up of shimmering light and sound. The garden's grounds are covered by flowers with multicolored petals of light that sit amongst dazzling crystalline shrubs. The flowers grow and fade, only to be immediately replaced by new blooms in a constant cycle of life. The garden's pools and fountains are also brilliant displays of light, accentuated by the crystalline dust that flows throughout. Simply gazing upon the Garden of Hope lifts the spirits of any who see it. But the angels were not alone. Tathamet's body came to rest in another part of the infant universe. As the dragon's corpse rotted away, a realm of suffering and anguish was left behind, the burning hells. It is said that each of Tathamet's severed heads would form into hell's strongest denizens, the prime and lesser evils. Tathamet's blackened flesh bore demons, burrowing to the surface of the body like maggots upon carrion. It was not long before the angels of heaven and the demons of hell met, their opposing ideologies leading to a war that would never end, the eternal conflict. When Anu and Tathamet threw their final attacks, the realm of Pandamonium was left in the wake of the devastation, a scar upon the universe. Within Pandamonium was the Soulstone, thought to be the Eye of Anu, an artifact of untold power. It was over this that the angels and demons fought, the Soulstone shifting hands on multiple occasions. Despite her positive outlook, Oriel is no pacifist, understanding the nature of her universe is broken and divided. Conflict within it was and is an inevitability. Many tales are told of Oriel's prowess in battle, whipping her weapon of choice, Almaesh, the Cord of Hope, through the demons and devastating their ranks. She and her fellow archangels were able to mount many successful sieges upon Pandamonium Fortress, an important strategical move, as the side that controlled this structure often had the upper hand in the eternal conflict. Even within these horrifying battles, Oriel still has the uncanny ability to see harmony in the midst of discord. She believes that victory for the other side does not always mean defeat for the enemy, as beyond each conflict lies the possibility for resolution and healing. During one battle for Pandamonium Fortress, the angels were presented with a golden opportunity to subdue the prime evil, Diablo, the Lord of Terror. Each archangel thinned the demon ranks, Imperius striking down a demonic Goliath, which saw the rest of the force retreat into Pandamonium Fortress. Tyrael suggested Imperius wait, allowing the angels to gather their forces and attack as one, but the impatient Angel of Valor rushed ahead into the depths of the fortress, greeted by a pile of angel remains.
Diablo. Are you prepared to face me alone, Imperius? Makes you powerful, yet you hide it from your brethren. Perhaps you fear them seeing you for what you truly are. I fear nothing! Your trap, Diablo. Pitiful. Yet, here you all are.
At last, we have captured one of the prime evils. Holding him will surely turn the tide of war in our favor.
Your vengeance, Imperius. Seal your victory.
This is not justice, brother. Nor does this decision lie with you alone. If you slay him, he will simply return in time. But if we imprison him...
Against his kind, there could only be blood for blood!
Sacrilege.
So much for your unity. The trap, at last, is sprung.
Oriel was stunned by Imperius's rash action. By not consulting with the council, he had gone against tradition and had eradicated any possibility of the eternal conflict coming to an end. Diablo had given up his current life to cunningly sow discord amongst the Angiris council. After millennia of conflict, some angels and demons began to tire of the fighting. A splinter group, led by the angel Inarius and the demoness Lilith, broke away from their factions and stole away the Worldstone, creating the world of Sanctuary, hidden away from angels and demons. Here they would eventually interbreed, creating the Nephilim. Their descendants would be humankind. Eventually, Sanctuary would be discovered by the Prime Evils, who discreetly set about corrupting humanity. They could sense the Nephilim power that lay dormant within the race, and concluded they would be able to use humanity to gain an upper hand in the eternal conflict. Afraid of the Nephilim's power, Inarius and his followers had tuned the Worldstone to weaken future generations of Nephilim. Inarius alone now remained upon Sanctuary. The debates on whether to preserve or destroy the Nephilim, whose power the angels and demons feared would dwarf their own, had broken down into violence. Humankind was all that remained. The Prime's meddling led to the formation of a religion known as the Triune, seemingly preaching unity through determination, love, and creation. The highest ranking members of the church knew better. They were a cult that took part in numerous demonic rituals and tortured their followers for the perverse pleasure of the evils. The Triune gained popularity and spread throughout Sanctuary, so much so that Inarius, in human guise, formed his own religion to counter this. A secret war was fought between the two churches for the hearts of humanity, which would come to be known as the Sin War. A select few resisted both churches, led by a man named Uldyssian, who had tapped into his Nephilim birthright and was able to awaken Nephilim powers in others. Uldyssian's journey would see him defeat the Triune, attune the Worldstone to further increase his power, and confront Inarius. Uldyssian defeated Inarius. The angel panicked, fearing humanity could become dangerous abominations. It was at this moment Tyrael arrived upon Sanctuary, reacting to what he perceived as the injustices carried out upon Anarius. Hundreds of angels streamed down from the heavens, and demons from the burning hells came to Sanctuary. Inarius saw what he had always feared, the eternal conflict coming to Sanctuary. Uldyssian's power was incredible. He unleashed it all, pushing both the forces of the heavens and the hells back to their domains. Though, as Uldyssian did this, he could see his power was ripping Sanctuary apart, and came to the realization that this unfathomable power could corrupt him and his kind. In an act of selflessness, Uldyssian drew his energies back into himself and released them, which negated his very form. The energy released also reset the Worldstone, stripping his followers of their Nephilim power as well. By sacrificing himself, Uldyssian had saved Sanctuary from angels, demons, and the darker side of his humanity. Directly following this, the Angiris Council voted on whether Sanctuary should be allowed to exist. It was clear that the demons now sought to use humanity in order to win the eternal conflict. Imperius voted to eradicate the race, and Malthael, to Auriel's disappointment, abstained from the vote. Oriel maintained her positive outlook. While the demons had been able to drive the humans to horrific acts, the council had also seen them perform acts of selfless benevolence. She passionately reasoned that while Anarius had gone against the will of the heavens, and had now been given to the demons in an agreement to leave Sanctuary alone, the children his sinful acts had created should not be punished for his crimes. She believed that given time, humanity would play a positive role within the eternal conflict. As a result, she voted for the continued existence of humanity. Itherael followed his friend's lead. The angel said that humanity had the potential to become more monstrous than the demons of the burning hells, but on the other side of the coin, they had great potential to serve the light, even greater than that of the angels. Itherael voted to preserve humanity so that they were given this chance. It came to the final vote. Imperius was confident, as he knew a draw in the vote would eventually lead to humanity's destruction, and he and Tyrael often saw eye to eye. Tyrael shocked all when he voted to preserve humanity, seeing with Uldyssian's final act that the race was capable of great heroism and selflessness. With this, Tyrael and Imperius fell out, and Auriel's mediator role within the council became even more important to prevent these two from attacking each other. To be able to calm both the Angel of Valor and Justice, Auriel needed to possess extraordinary understanding and patience. On occasions, Oriel would drape Almaesh over the shoulders of her arguing brothers. What was a deadly weapon against demons granted clarity of emotion and thought to her brothers. Only with Auriel's patience did the Angiris Council endure these tumultuous times. Tyrael would further shock the Council when he broke their agreement not to intervene upon Sanctuary, when the Prime Evils yet again sought to claim humanity. Events detailed in Diablo 2 that ended with the Prime's defeat and the destruction of the Worldstone, which Tyrael had to destroy after it had been infected by the Prime Evil Baal. The destruction of the stone also vaporized Tyrael's body. After the Worldstone's destruction, the Angel of Wisdom Malthael also vanished, leaving only 3 members of the Angiris Council. But justice would return. The Crystal Arch once again, as many times before, reached perfect harmony, but the angel created was not a new birth, but an unprecedented reformation. Tyrael was born again. It would not be long before Imperius discovered Tyrael's transgressions, aiding Sanctuary when the Angiris Council had agreed not to do so. This time the Angel of Valor's anger could not be contained during a debate in which Tyrael tried to convince his fellow council members that they should stand with man against the coming darkness of the burning hells. While many of the evils were now imprisoned, the cunning Belial, Lord of Lies, and cutthroat Azmodan, the Lord of Sin, planned to attack Sanctuary. Rather than listen to Tyrael, Imperius attacked him, as Oriel and Itherael watched on. Dismayed by the inaction of the Angiris Council, Tyrael felt he could no longer stand as one of them. Tearing his wings from his back, Tyrael plummeted towards Sanctuary, now a mortal. During his adventures upon Sanctuary, Tyrael stumbled into a human who had begun to rediscover their Nephilim power. With the Worldstone destroyed, new generations had begun to rediscover their birthright. With this Nephilim, Tyrael fought and conquered both Belial and Azmodan, containing their souls within an artifact called the Black Soulstone, which now housed the souls of all the evils, lesser and prime. But Tyrael, the Nephilim, and their companions were betrayed by the witch Adrian, who allowed Diablo to possess the body of her daughter Leah and absorb the souls of the other evils. Like Tathamet before him, Diablo was now the prime evil, far more powerful than he had ever been before. Not yet showing his true form, Diablo immediately travelled to heaven to begin attacking the angels. This event occurred 3,000 years after the Sin War. Imperius met the demon at the Diamond Gates, the entryway to heaven. The angel fought bravely, but when Diablo's true form was revealed, Imperius stood no chance. Heavily wounded, the angel was flung into the Diamond Gates, shattering them and allowing the demons to swarm into heaven. One of Diablo's first actions during this invasion was to capture Oriel, as without hope the rest of the angels would fall into despair, weakening their resistance. Diablo's Lieutenant Rakanoth took Oriel prisoner, binding her within the Library of Fate, Itherael's domain within the heavens. Perhaps Rakanoth and his forces fought both Itherael and Oriel, interrupting the two friends in discussion, but the Angel of Fate was able to escape. As Tyrael and the Nephilim were able to make their way to the entrance of heaven, it was Itherael that greeted them, imploring them to save Oriel to help bolster heaven's defences. The Nephilim did just that, storming the Library of Fate, killing Rakanoth and saving Auriel. Upon her release, Auriel was able to bless the Nephilim with the power to destroy the demonic corruption that was now spreading over the heavens. The Nephilim continued to the Crystal Arch to confront Diablo, while Auriel joined her people in combating Diablo's armies. While the angels were still on the back foot, Auriel's presence reinvigorated them, returning their will to fight against the demon hordes. When the Nephilim defeated Diablo, his form dispersed, leaving only the Black Soulstone. Oriel came to the Crystal Arch to congratulate the hero and thank them. With the heavens saved, Tyrael rejoined the Angiris Council, still mortal, as the aspect of wisdom, replacing Malthael. One of the first acts of the Angiris Council after Diablo's defeat was to find where the Black Soulstone had fallen and bring it back to heaven to keep it safe. When Tyrael took up his new position, he sought to create a harmonious relationship between angels and humans. But not long after the Black Soulstone entered heaven, things seemed to change. The angels were once again discussing the eradication of Sanctuary. One day, within the Garden of Hope, Oriel was able to sense the great conflict that lay within Tyrael, compelling her to seek out the Angel of Wisdom. Her search led her to the Angiris Council Chamber, where the Soulstone was held. She found Tyrael squaring up against Baal, an angel who had been promoted to Imperius' right hand after showing great bravery in the fight against Diablo, and who had also been entrusted to guard the Soulstone. Some angels had grown hostile toward Tyrael after he chose to become mortal. Oriel instructed Baal to leave, as a meeting would soon be happening with the Angiris Council, allowing her to speak privately with Tyrael. After both agreeing Baal had grown arrogant since his promotion, Oriel addressed her concern for Tyrael. Since becoming mortal, Tyrael required sleep. The high heavens, with no beds and always bathed in light, did not make for the ideal resting place. Oriel observed this and stood by Tyrael's choice. She fully admitted she and the other angels could not understand Wisdom's choice to become mortal, but also acknowledged that this did not make Tyrael's choice any less valid. To help calm Tyrael's inner conflict, she draped Almaesh over his shoulders, granting Tyrael a sense of calm and well-being within. As Oriel removed Almaesh, she noticed Tyrael's concern, asking if his concern was for her. Lying, Tyrael said no, but their conversation would reveal the cause of his concern. Since becoming Wisdom, Tyrael had not been residing in the Pools of Wisdom, Malthael's old realm. Oriel told Tyrael that it appeared he had not accepted his new role within the council, and as such they were still without Wisdom's guidance. Though Tyrael believed it would not do much good if the council did not choose to listen. Oriel said the council could sense Tyrael's inner conflict, and since he shed his wings, they were unsure of his allegiance. Tyrael told Oriel he was committed to building an allegiance between angels and humanity, pointing out that without the Nephilim hero, the high heavens would have been destroyed by Diablo. Oriel replied that without humanity, the Black Soulstone would not have been created, and thus the evils would not have combined, but this was a matter the council would discuss. With this comment, Tyrael's anxieties came to the fore. He knew discussion would change nothing. Imperius, as always, would want to destroy humanity, and Tyrael felt Itherael would now also vote to exterminate the human race. Tyrael firmly believed angels and men could push back darkness forever, and asked Oriel whether she would stand with him in the vote. To speak so plainly outside of a council meeting to another member went against the council's rules, but even so, Tyrael was surprised by Oriel's reaction. He sensed the rigidity and coldness that he had never felt radiate from Oriel before, someone who had always looked so optimistically toward the future. She floated silently before Tyrael. She had always stood on the side of humanity, and Oriel's silence filled Tyrael with fear for what it might mean. Stepping aside, he allowed Oriel to exit the chamber. Inspecting the Black Soulstone, Tyrael confirmed what he suspected, that the corruption within was not contained and was seeping out. Knowing Auriel's vote was key, likely to also affect Itherael's vote, Tyrael tried to meet with her again. Auriel's guard denied Tyrael, saying she was resting. Auriel's behaviour seemed dismissive to Tyrael, at odds with her usual character. Did she now react differently to him too since he'd lost his wings? As Tyrael left the Gardens of Hope, he noticed an odd trace of grey within the canopies of light. The angel dismissed this as a symptom of his relatively recent mortality. The next council meeting went as Tyrael feared. Imperius blustered, stating the Soulstone was safest in heaven, and that the sooner the angels destroyed Sanctuary, the sooner the demons would stop using mankind for their own purposes. Imperius recalled recent events. It was humanity's fault that Diablo managed to reach the Crystal Arch. This time, Oriel played devil's advocate for the other side. She felt Imperius' statement was not as simple as he made it out to be. That even without humanity, Diablo may have devised a way to attack the Crystal Arch, and in that reality, humanity would not have been there to stop him. This was only met by a dismissive chuckle by Imperius. He told Oriel her hope made her blind. With the demon lords trapped in the Soulstone, Sanctuary remained the angels' one weakness. Destroy that world and the angels' great advantage in the eternal conflict would be cemented, bringing it to its final end. Oriel countered that mankind, despite being capable of evil, still had great capacity for goodness, reminiscent of when she first argued for mankind's preservation. Only this time, Tyrael felt a lack of conviction in Hope's words, her argument falling flat. Tyrael joined the debate. The Nephilim and their astonishing power could be the greatest force against the burning hells. Imperius basically ignored Tyrael's point, choosing instead to point out Tyrael's past transgressions, promising an alliance between angels and men without consulting the council, his constant interference with Sanctuary against the council's wishes, and his decision to cast off his wings. He asserted that without Tyrael's meddling, the prime evil would never have made it to heaven. Oriel came to Tyrael's defense. Imperius' comment was not a certainty, and Tyrael was not on trial during this meeting. Itherael finally spoke, changing the subject to the Black Soulstone, and invoking wisdom to advise them on what should be done with it. Imperius continued his attack on Tyrael. Wisdom did not exist in this chamber and hadn't since Malthael's departure. This insult drove Oriel to chastise her brother, saying it was unbecoming of Imperius to mock Tyrael's choice to rejoin the council. Not letting up, Imperius asked Tyrael whether or not he had gazed into Shaladar, Malthael's chalice that he would look into to help him gain the deep insight for which he was known. When Tyrael did not reply, Imperius proclaimed they should break the Black Soulstone upon the Hellforge within the burning hells, destroying it and its contents forever. Both Itherael and Oriel refused this. As the Soulstone was man-made, there was no way of them knowing what would happen upon its destruction. Tyrael believed the stone should be hidden on Sanctuary. Imperius angrily protested, and Oriel agreed. While Tyrael had hidden Soulstones previously on Sanctuary containing the prime evils, they had always found a way of corrupting mankind and escaping. Tyrael countered that the stone could not remain in the heavens. Even now, it corrupted both the heavens and the angels. Imperius' quickness to anger, valor was becoming wrath, hope, despair, and fate was becoming blind. The innate pride of angels made them oblivious to this. Tyrael's mortal eyes had granted him clarity on this, but the others did not heed his advice. This caused Tyrael to leave the council in frustration mid-session. He could no longer stand alongside them in the council. After the session was finished, Oriel sent a messenger to Tyrael saying the council had refused to act on his advice. Upon witnessing the birth of an angel in which he could see the corruption of the stone seeping into its form, and hearing that the council was meeting to discuss whether Tyrael should be tried for treason, the mortal angel acted. He travelled to Sanctuary and gathered together a group of humans in tune with their Nephilim abilities. He and these mortals would enter heaven and steal away the Soulstone to be hidden. Tyrael and his companions journeyed to find a suitable place to hide the stone, all the while beset by phantoms and a Sicari, an extremely powerful angelic soldier. Tyrael assumed these were servants of Imperius, but they actually served Balzael, who was serving a mysterious master he called the Guardian. The team achieved their aims, entering heaven, but in the end causing great commotion, angels losing their lives to the humans as they defended themselves. With the stone in hand, its corruption sealed in a magical pouch, several of the humans were about to travel through a portal that would take them back to Sanctuary. However, Oriel barred their way. The humans were in the pools of wisdom, trespassing upon sacred ground, but she did not strike them down. She observed that with the Soulstone contained, even in the short time it was in the pouch, that she and the heavens surrounding her had changed for the better. She did not quite understand this yet, but she let the humans pass, knowing that if the stone remained in the heavens, they would have succumbed to its darkness. She and Itherael travelled to the Angiris council chamber, where they found Tyrael and Imperius. Valor had just saved his brother. Tyrael had been fighting Malthael, who would have struck him down if not for Imperius's assault. Imperius wanted to punish Tyrael and the humans for the damage they had caused. Oriel agreed Tyrael had not gone about obtaining the Soulstone in the right way, but commended Tyrael, whose mortal eyes could see what theirs could not, heaven's impending corruption. Oriel wanted to show mercy to the humans, which Imperius stated was weakness. Oriel suggested Imperius would say the same of love and compassion, but these were not signs of weakness, but signs of strength. With that, she called a vote as to whether Tyrael should be put on trial. Imperius voted in favour of a trial, but Oriel voted for Tyrael's freedom. Oriel proclaimed Tyrael should return to Sanctuary and watch over the Soulstone, and with that, turned to her friend. I wish you had continued to try and work through the council, but perhaps we gave you no choice. I am sorry I did not listen, my brother, and I am sorry you have chosen this path away from the only home you have ever known, but in my mind, it is yours to choose. Itherael also voted for Tyrael's freedom. Tyrael returned to Sanctuary and hid the Soulstone in a place only mortals could tread, but the Guardian had somehow gained access. Malthael, now the Angel of Death, stole the Soulstone for himself, looking to wipe out humanity in order to cleanse all demonic taint from the universe. The following events were depicted in Diablo 3's expansion, Reaper of Souls. While the Angiris Council did not act when Malthael attacked Sanctuary, they did when he attacked his own kind. Malthael did this in an attempt to stop the Nephilim that was hunting him from reaching his base of operations. The Council knew Malthael must be dealt with, but did not have the heart to do it themselves. The responsibility fell to the Nephilim. So, there you have it, the lore behind Oriel and her involvement with many of the key events to occur within the Diablo universe's history. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, give this channel hope. Give a like, subscribe, and share it around with your friends. If you want the Black Soulstone's corruption to seep into this channel and reduce us to nothing, you can always hit the dislike button. If you've enjoyed the art, I've tried my best to credit the artists in the description below. If you want to keep up to date with 6Gamers, follow us on Twitter @the6gamers or Facebook /6gamersuk. Until next time, I hope to meet you one day in the Nexus.